Yo, what is going on everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over the Seika Kibi CK75, all my thoughts and opinions on this keyboard and if I think it's worth picking up over everything else. So let's just get started. So first I wanted to say that Seika did send this keyboard out to me for review. That doesn't in any way, shape, or form affect my opinion of this board. As you know, I try to be as open and unbiased as possible about everything. So let's just get right into it. I normally never talk about price when I'm going over products of any kind, mainly because a lot of things are so similar in price. I feel like the feature set and the quality matter more than the price you're paying for it. But when it comes to this keyboard, the $230 price point is a hard sell for a lot of people, especially because it has a really weird form factor, as this one that I have here is both ISO and ANSI, and also has a volume knob on the bottom section of the keyboard, which a lot of people do not like. I personally have kind of adjusted to it, but they do make an ANSI only version of this keyboard, so you're able to pick up the ANSI only version for around the same price in an all white copy compared to this very ugly yellow color, which I just think looks absolutely awful. A couple of things to note: this keyboard is gasket mounted. The CK75, you get the HM66, which is a kind of weird combo of a 65 and 60% keyboard, but that one is a tray mount keyboard. This comes with jade magnetic switches, similar to what you would see in custom wooting mods, but this comes out of the box with jades, and it comes in a two-piece plastic case. I've really enjoyed this keyboard with my time with it. It made me retire the wooting completely. So I just want to get on to the performance aspect of it. This keyboard does have some of the fastest latency on the market, excluding the InfinityMice EZ60 and the Rocka boards. I forget the name of the Rocka boards, but I'll put the names here on screen so you're able to see. This keyboard can go up to 0.01 millimeter actuation with 0 dead zone. So you're able to have very accurate movements. But there is something to note that when you're playing at such low actuation, your rapid trigger speed has to be set at a certain level so you're not getting stops and stutters. So with a keyboard that's this responsive, I found myself putting it at the fastest setting to see how fast I can get it to respond, and it would just stop responding. I'm not actually sure why it does that, but on the software, it does state that you shouldn't do this, and they very heavily advise against doing this practice. So I found myself playing at 0.01 millimeter rapid trigger with around a 0.2 millimeter actuation on the keyboard itself. This keyboard also has true 8K scanning. So unlike something like the Wraith W75, which has 8K polling, it only scans at 1K. So the other polling rate doesn't really matter because the keyboard's not reading all the extra inputs you're putting into the keyboard. Unlike the CK75 and HM66, which have true 8K scanning. You're gonna have a lot lower latency with a lot more responsiveness when you're doing your AD strafes, when you're moving around and you're hitting your spacebar. This keyboard also comes out of the box with SOCD. So if you've been wanting to try that SOCD movement in games like Overwatch or games like Apex or games like CSGO, where it essentially feels like cheating, you can do that with this board out of the box. It's similar to SOCD in every single keyboard. If it has SOCD, it has SOCD. And it's a super nice feature to have. Once I enabled it, I just could not turn it off. It makes the keyboard feel so much more responsive. Going on to the latency numbers of this board, I did not create this chart here, but based off the numbers that you're seeing right here on screen, this keyboard runs 3 times faster than the Wooting and Drunk Deer boards comparatively, but it runs a little bit slower than boards like the EZ60 from InfinityMice, which is right now the lowest latency gaming keyboard on the market. So if you're looking for the absolute best, EZ60 is the way to go at a slightly lower price point, but the CK75 is just a fantastic board with very little flaws, outside of one really major flaw that I'm about to get right into. So in my time with using this board, I've had it die on me twice. One time when I first opened the board, plugged it in and opened the software, it bricked the board completely. And I figured out that if you're opening the software with an old version of the firmware that the keyboard does not have, the keyboard will not work until you open a version of the software with the new firmware, because the software for some reason uploads the firmware to the keyboard every single time you open it, which I found to be very annoying, especially when it's all in Chinese. I don't know a lick of Chinese. I only know one language, speaking American English and TikTok and whatnot, but not being able to tell why your software is opening, loading, and then closing is very annoying. And I wish that they had an English version of the software you could download alongside the original Chinese version. So at least us monkey brain Americans and Europeans that speak English are able to tell why their keyboard isn't working. And that's because it uploads the firmware onto the keyboard every single time. And if your keyboard has the newer firmware, it will false upload. So it'll try to put the old firmware on there and then the keyboard will reject it and then it will stop working. So you need to go find the newest version of the firmware, it took me a week to figure out where to get the firmware from the second time it happened to me. I had to go talk to the owner itself to get the firmware from it because no one had a firmware that was acceptable with my board. So I'll leave a copy to that link for that firmware in the description. So if you are having any issues with your CK75, that should be a quick fix for it. But other than that, this keyboard has served me very well. And as you know, this is a fully opinionated review. This isn't super heavy on the latency and numbers aspect. I'm just showing the latency numbers so you're able to see how it performs compared to other keyboards, because I will get questions. Is it better than a Wooting? This made me retire the Wooting. I no longer own a Wooting 60HE because of how much better this keyboard felt. It felt like using a Wooting for the very first time ever, and it blew my mind away because it's so much more responsive, so much more fluid, and it made my Wooting feel like a drunk deer, and it made my drunk deer feel like a mechanical, and it made a mechanical feel like a membrane, and I don't even own a membrane keyboard anymore, so I can't even tell you how those feel. But is this a recommend for me? Yes, only if you have the spare cash. If you already have a Wooting, there's no need to upgrade, but if you're looking to get the best performance and you don't currently have a Wooting, you're currently swapping from a mechanical to a magnetic keyboard, getting the CK75 / the HM66 will be your best bet when you're looking for something that is really good performance, really good build quality, and in a price point where I feel like it's definitely justified to spend that. At the $230 price point, it is a little bit expensive, but the HM66 is cheaper at around $160 to $170. So if you didn't want to spend $270 on the CK75, you can definitely do it with the HM66, which has all the same specs, all the same features at a lower price point and a smaller form factor, which is a little bit more unique, like I said, with the arrow keys on a 60% compact board. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Like me to subscribe if you want to see more. I have another episode of The Right Click coming at the end of this week on Friday. Be looking out for that. We'll be covering the Akitsu and the Zero Mouse alongside a couple of the leaks and new releases. So be ready for that at the end of the week. Leave a like if you did enjoy this video. Subscribe if you want to see more. Go follow the Twitter for all news and updates. I also sell a lot of stuff over on Twitter, so you can catch a lot of good deals over there as well. But that should be all. See you guys in the next one.
You say you want it, oh baby girl, you say you want it. Baby, come get it, oh baby, yeah, you gotta get it. Hey baby girl, drop all these products. Look at everyone who's trying harder. I don't know if I should try harder, cause you're the only one I want.